Welcome to Life in Calgary, Alberta. I'm your host, Patrick Murray. And today we're talking about the latest and greatest real estate stats as of the end of May 2025. And hopefully this is going to give you a really good snapshot picture of where we've come in the market, where it stands right now, and hopefully I can give you a bit of a glimpse as to where it may be going. But before we do that, if this is your first time in this channel and you want to know everything there is about what it's like to eat, sleep, breathe, live, and play in Calgary, Alberta, then please just hit that subscribe button and click that bell so you get notified every single time I release a new video. Now, I've lived in several major centers in my adult life, but I settled in Calgary way back in 2001. And not only that, I've been a residential realtor here since 2010. And all this means I have some specialized knowledge about the city of Calgary and the surrounding bedroom communities. So if you are considering a move to the city of Calgary or one of these bedroom communities, or you're considering selling your home, please feel free to reach out to me, send me a text, email, or a phone call. I will absolutely get back to you. All right, guys, let's do this. Let's get into these real estate stats right after this. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining me. So these are the latest and greatest City of Calgary real estate statistics for the end of May 2025. So of course, we're into June right now, and of course, June isn't finished. So we don't have all of the market stats for the month. So this is the latest and greatest, the best look that we can do looking at the end of May here. And we're going to be looking at the detached sector, semi-detached, row housing, and also the apartment sectors of the market. And just a quick disclaimer, we are talking about benchmark pricing here. And benchmark pricing is a far more stable way of discussing pricing as opposed to looking at median or average pricing, because sometimes that sort of data can be skewed by, say, an unusual amount of, say, very expensive sales in a month, or maybe an unusual amount of month where we don't have very many expensive sales and we have a lot of lower price sales in a month. So that can really skew the data from month to month. So what this does is it looks at the average price of the average property, puts it all together in each neighborhood, I should say, for each product type here, and then puts it together for the City of Calgary statistics. So that's what we're looking at here. So without further ado, let's get into the detached sector here. So you can see that dial at the top says it's in balanced territory. And balanced territory is when we have a listing absorption rate between 30 and 50%. So it says 43% listing absorption rate. And if you go down 2 rows there, you're going to see the actives and sold listings. And it says there were 2,995 active listings for sale in the detached market, with 1,275 of them selling, or in other words, 43% of those listings that were for sale sold. So that's how we get that listing absorption rate. Now, if we look at the benchmark pricing, you're going to see the benchmark price there is $769,400, and month over month, that's up 0.01% from last month. And year over year, it's up 1 full percentage point from May of 2024. And average days on market sitting at roughly 28 days on market on average. Now, just want to say, I know we're all hearing about the national news and what's happening in the market in the national media here, and they're talking about prices coming down and a lot more properties coming on the market. And where they get the basis of the data? It's almost like how they look at our voting in Canada. They give most of the votes to, Toronto and Vancouver area. So that's what they're looking at. They're looking at Toronto and Vancouver. And that's kind of skewing the data across Canada because that's where they're getting that data. But there are some markets that are doing very, very well, like Regina, Saskatoon, some of the Atlantic provinces, some places in Quebec. And so it's just not true to say that the market is hurting across the board. I will be the first to tell you, yes, we're seeing a lot more product coming on the market. And you can see by that 2,995 active listings. And yes, people are taking their time. But the properties that are selling in the detached sector in Calgary anyway is staying strong. We've been sitting around that 769,000 mark for months now. So it's not really changing. So what we're seeing in the market is a bit of a pause, but things are still moving. Yes, they're taking longer. Yes, you can't be overpriced. But overall, our pricing is holding fairly steady in the detached sector. And I should also point out that real estate being regional, it's a very different market here than it is, say in Chestermere or in Airdrie, for example. Some of those markets are a little bit different from our market as well. You can get houses in Airdrie, for example, a beautiful home that's far less expensive than our benchmark price here in Calgary, and it's just a short drive away. But again, their market is different, and how it's reacting to what's going on in the economy also differs than what's happening here, again, because real estate is regional. And having said all of that, let's get into the semi-detached sector of the market. And you can see that dial at the top says that the listing absorption rate is roughly 47%, and that's just into balanced territory. And you can see, 2 rows down, there were 542 listings for sale in May, with 256 of those selling, and that's roughly 47%. And this is kind of our all-star of our product type right now, whereas the semi-detached homes, thanks in part to row housing, which I'll get into in a few moments here. But prices here have been going up. So we're up 0.78% from April, and year over year up 2.85% from May of 2024. So that's really saying something. And if you look on the average days on market, sitting at 29 days on market on average for this. Yes, higher, slightly higher than the detached sector, but again, prices are going up in this sector of the market greatly. So now we'll take a look at the row home housing, and so that's townhouses, guys. And we can look at the style, and we see that the listing absorption rate is sitting at 41%. So that's pretty much right in the middle of a balanced market. So I would definitely say row homes right now, townhomes, are in balanced market territory 100%. Let's go down to the second row, and we can see that there's been 1,116 active listings in May, with 458 of them, or 41% of them, being sold, which gives us that listing absorption rate. And if we look at the price point here, we see the benchmark price is $453,600. Now, month over month, that is down 0.83% from April. And year over year, it's down 1.92% from May of 2024. And we can see the days on market here averaging 33 days on market on average. Now, what's happening here is there's a lot of competition with resale versus new build for townhomes right now. A lot of builders are building townhomes. So, in these communities such as the Northeast and down in the Southeast, we're seeing builders building lots more townhomes, and that's competing with that resale market. And those are the districts that have been hit the hardest, actually, with the townhomes coming down a bit, is because there's so many of those being built. But even in the inner city where I live in Renfrew, and even in the inner city, we see these corners being bought up and houses being torn down, and these townhouses being built on the corner. So, and these are very nice townhouses. These aren't $453,000. These are townhomes that are, well into $650,000, that sort of thing. And it's interesting to me, just as a side note, a lot of people were concerned that having the new zoning in Calgary, the RCG zoning, allowing people to build such things as townhomes on lots that will accommodate them, would bring down property values, and that's not happening. I mean, we can see if we look at the benchmark price for detached homes, it's holding strong, and in fact, the inner city is one of the strongest areas for detached pricing right now. So that kind of debunks that myth altogether. Now, with this competition, there is certainly opportunity because there's more sellers than buyers right now. So there is opportunity if you are considering purchasing a townhome right now. There's finally, after many years of very little selection and a tight market, finally some selection out there, and sellers are a little more apt to be a little more flexible on their pricing. So that's the row homes. And now we'll take a look at the apartment condominium sector of the market. So the first thing you're going to notice is that dial. It's not in the gray; it's in the black, which is in the buyer market territory, sitting at 28% listing absorption rate. And if we go down 2 rows, you can see there were 2,087 active properties for sale in this sector of the market, with 579 of them, or 28% of them, being sold last month. And And so we see this softening happening. Let's look at the price here. That'll demonstrate a little bit more as to what's happening with that. The benchmark price sitting at $335,300. Month over month, that's down 0.21% from April, but year over year, it's down 1.53% from May of 2024. And the average days of market sitting at 41 days on market on average. So what's happening here is, a few years ago, well, for the last several years, it's been a very hot market. Especially even in apartment condominiums, which was needed because we had so much of an supply for several years. And so it's taken that market some time to climb out and to find its legs. And then it became very hot, very competitive. I remember showing, a couple of years ago, showing apartment condominiums to clients. And we were writing offer after offer because there'd be 5, 10, 15, other offers on the same property. At one point, I wrote 11 contracts before getting one accepted. And that was very frustrating for me as a realtor. And it's very frustrating for my clients who are wanting to buy a property. So it was very, very challenging because they had to realize that they had to maybe make their offer a little stronger in terms of the money and also be very selective about their contingencies at the same time. No longer is that the case. Something to keep in mind is, while we're seeing more supply in all these markets, it's important to keep in mind that the market was undersupplied for several years. So now we're kind of to a point where we're just getting back to where we should be. We're getting back to long-term averages in terms of supply. And if we're looking at the apartment condominium sector specifically, a lot of investors were buying apartment condominiums. Why? Because they're the least expensive and the most affordable product in the real estate world. And unfortunately, some of them, purchased those at higher mortgage rates, and rents have softened. And because rents have softened, they're not getting the same rent. They're not able to cover their expenses the same way. And so we're seeing a lot of these coming onto the market now. And, that's one symptom of why we're seeing more of those. The other symptom being that many people are playing this wait and see game right now. The market has kind of paused a little bit because people are concerned as to what's happening with politics, of course, of what's going on south of the border and how it's going to affect jobs and that sort of thing. So the take-home message here is there is still opportunity in each sector of the market here. It's just if you're selling, no longer can you reach for the stars and sell at a higher price because there's more selection. Buyers know what's available and they know what values are. And so you need to be priced appropriately. And if you got a great product, it's going to sell. So as long as you've got the price right, the presentation and the marketing, it's going to go. It's going to go. Where's this market going? Hard to say. I think we're going to see some more softening in the next few months, specifically in the row and apartment condominium sectors, for sure. In the detached and semi-detached, possibly. It's taking a little bit longer for these homes to sell, but prices are still very, very stable. But I do think we're definitely going to see some more softening in the row and apartment sectors, potentially in the semi-detached and detached. But I don't think we're going to see a fire sale in those detached and semi-detached sale products by any means. If anything, I think the biggest change is going to be coming more so to the row and apartment condominium sector. So we shall see, and that's what I've got for you this month. As I said earlier, if you are considering a move to the city of Calgary or one of the bedroom communities, or you're considering selling your home, please feel free to reach out to me, send me a text, email, or a phone call. I will absolutely get back to you so you can live your life in Calgary, Alberta.